Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon.
Good
Looks
afternoon,
like I
Professor.
have,
Good
hey, good
afternoon,
afternoon,
Professor.
Peter. Good afternoon, Jackson. Um, Looks like I have four people in the collaborate, and let me just check. Go back to today's forum and see how many people are there. Okay, there are four people, so it looks like everyone in the collaborate are also in the discussion board.
Good
And if
afternoon,
you,
Professor.
hi Eva, how are you?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
I'm good too. Thank you. Looks like one person here hasn't yet signed into today's forum. So if you haven't yet, um, please make sure you sign into today's forum as well. Um, Alrighty. So uh, before Well, I believe everyone got this email, but before we move on, let me just quickly uh, let me remind you quickly that the midterm instruction was posted on October 22nd, which was last Thursday, actually, last Friday, right? Last Friday was posted, and you can also it is visible. It will be. No, this is not your section, but I mean, not your course, but and this should also be, this is visible from Connect, right? If you are doing Connect problems, then this should be visible, right? Um, it's not open yet because it's going to be open on October 29th, but I'm just letting you know ahead of time. All righty. Okay, so I have 8 people and I have 8 here, so the numbers match. So. All righty, so we are done actually with the second topic. Actually, we are not only done with the second topic, but we're done with the third topic, topic 3, by main lecture, right? If you go to, but we are just about to start on topic 3 in Collaborate. But as I said, the main lecture is the main lecture. It's named main lecture because that's how we go by the schedule, right?
What does this midterm do?
Hmm?
What does this midterm do?
It's due on 31st, right?
Okay.
Go to the instruction, and instruction clearly
That's
says when it's due, right? And also
Sunday.
here,
This
right?
Sunday night.
Yeah, right. I think you have 180 minutes or
To do at
something.
night? Yeah, to do at night.
Night, 180 minutes. Let's go back. But anyway, the actually today's videos are these. The main lecture videos are these. These are today's main lecture videos. So as of today, topic 2 is done. Okay. But topic 2 is, let me use the whiteboard. Topic 2 is nothing new. It's nothing new because we've talked about, topic 2 is basically about time value of money. Okay. And time value of money is something we already did at the beginning of the semester. Remember, it was all about time value of money is basically about this thing is not doing well. Future value and present value. In another class, I started talking about this and the students somehow forgot. The students forgot everything about it. I mean, if you go back to topic 1, which was about how return on investment, and to and while explaining, discussing the return on investment, okay, this is not the pen. Now, the compounding and discounting, concept of compounding, if you go back to the earlier videos, right, and I post the videos of every class, every session, always, I post it all the time, after class, so you can always go back and check. For example, the past topics are always visible, right? If you go to ROI, the main lecture videos are no longer visible, but all the session recordings are all visible. And if you go back to all of these, you can review the concept of compounding. And just this morning at 11 o'clock class, I was simply, because a lot of it was discussed, in the early part of the semester, I just wanted to quickly go over the basic concepts, and hardly anyone could answer the questions. I mean, in other words, it was completely obliterated, right? It's as if they have no memory of whatsoever, and I was so shocked. I talked about compounding at the beginning of the semester. Oh God, this penny is. This penny is a headache. So basically, future value is about finding future value is compounding. I mean, it's the result of compounding. Present value is the result of discounting. Discounting the future value. And I don't need to explain this again, but a lot of people makes it redundant. I mean, I have to redundant. I have to make it redundant. So basically, let's think about what I'm talking about. Suppose you have 10K and put it in a bank. Then that's called principal, of course, right? That should be called principal. You put $10,000 in the bank, so it's called principal, right? Okay. And then interest rate is 10%. Okay. So let's say you put it for time, 10 years, right? 10 years. So then 10 years later, future value at year 10 years later, what's it going to be, right? What's it going to be? And so to do that, let's start with the future value 1. But we know this already. We did it at the beginning. ROI, it's principal times 1 plus R raised to N. Okay, here N is 10 years, right? Okay. So we, but when I present it, when I present the way it is derived, I want you to not only remember the formula, but you must understand how this formula is derived. You need to understand how it came about, because memorizing formula is meaningless, because you will forget it anyway. And after this semester is over, you'll forget. But if you understand the steps of derivation, in other words, how we arrive at that point, how we arrive at that at this result, right? Right? Understanding how we arrive at that result, that's what's important. So let's start with future value 1. In other words, at the end of the first year, how much we'll have there. We already know it's going to be 11K, right? This is, very simple. We can do it mentally, because this is a very simple example. Because you have 10K, interest rate is 10%, so interest will be 1K, right? So 11K at the end of year 1, right? But if you break it down, if you analyze it algebraically, right? It's basically principal plus interest, right? Isn't that right? Principal plus interest, which is equal to, then principal is principal, right? But we can break down, we can break down interest further. I mean, in other words, that interest, how do we get that interest? How do we get that interest? We know interest is 1K, but how did we arrive at 1K? Anyone? This is basically analytical reasoning, analytical thinking. But when it comes to analytical thinking, the students these days are so weak, very weak in analytical thinking. But what is analysis? Analysis is nothing but decomposition. Analysis is breaking down. That's what the word analysis means. You're breaking it down. So think about it. If you break down interest, how would it be broken down? How will it be decomposed? I mean, what will it be broken down into? Anyone? Look, interest is basically the result of, right? P times R times T. Isn't that right? Interest is basically result of P times R times T. Isn't it how we got 1K? Literally, this is, you multiplied 10K by 10% for 1 year. I mean, since T is 1, you don't have to write it. But, this is how the interest of 1K is calculated, right? Isn't that right? NCND, huh? No. You know what NCND stand for? No confirm, no deny. Huh? Nobody, there's no confirmation, no denial, no questioning. But that's quite obvious, We arrived at 1K because, interest, everybody can tell, interest rate is 10%, so interest for 1 year is 1K. Isn't that right? And we can easily even mentally calculate that because it's 10K times 10% times 1 year, right? And then, but you should know. I mean, generally everybody knows this, but they just don't seem to. You need to be explicit about it. The reason we use math is to make it very explicit and solid. Now, anybody who knows math knows that this is not this is not good form, right? Why? Because P is repeated. P is a common factor. When there's a common factor, you don't leave it like that because it becomes redundant. So when there's a common factor, what do you need to do? When there's a common factor, what do you need to do? I have like 10 people in this class, and I don't hear anybody even breathe.
I don't know. I want to say something, but I don't want it to be wrong. That's why I'm not speaking.
Well, say it. I mean, there's no
Can you repeat the
there's
question?
no penalty. You can be wrong. There's no penalty. I mean, if you get it right, you get extra points. But if you get it wrong, there's no penalty. So go ahead and did you say something, or go ahead and say?
Can you repeat the question? I just lost my train
The
of thought.
question is, this is not a good form, right? This is not, what I'm saying is, I already highlighted it. Ah, shit.
PRT, that means interest, right?
Yeah, that's interest. But
So
look, future value 1 will be principal plus interest, right? And interest is P times R times T. But this mathematically, this is not good form, right? Why? Because P is repeated. P is repeated. Basically, P is the common factor in these two terms. So when there's a common factor, what do?
when there's a common factor, I don't know, you divide, multiply.
Why divide?
I don't know. When I hear common factor, I just think of divide.
No, that's common denominator. But again, there's no division here, right? There's no division. Simply from this form, I said this is not good form. So what is a good form? You have good form is when the common factor, when there's a common factor, when the common factor.
You would use
Um,
parentheses and just
So tell me,
how it's rolled.
yeah. So how do you write it then?
You would put P in parentheses, and since
Okay,
they're like
give me a second. Give me a second. I must change the pen, right? Because it was a highlighter. Yes, P.
in parentheses,
Yeah, times. Although we don't.
there's three
We
of them
don't
though.
write
Three P's.
times, but say times. Yeah, a parenthesis.
I see three P's, so would it just be the three on the inside? So we get three P's.
What? Why 3P?
Oh, it says wait, it just equals. Would it be two? It would just be two,
No,
right?
no. Why 2?
I was gonna say that because I see in the future value equals P plus I equals, and I see like three P's there.
Yeah. No. It's not 3.
Get to three of them?
It's not 3. This is.
That's one P, and there are two more.
No. But it's just the same thing repeated. I mean, this is. Look.
They
This
mean the
is
same
expression
thing.
ended here, and it says
Yeah, it says equal.
which is equal to this, and then it's just a rephrasing. It's just a paraphrasing of this, isn't it right?
Yeah, the same thing.
This
I didn't see
I wish I can show my hand, but this expression is simply the paraphrase of this, isn't it right?
So would it be two then? Because that's what I said the second time.
Why is it 2?
Because there are two P's there. It says P plus P. So can't you just add them up and it'd be P and times 2?
No, by putting P here, that means you're factoring out the common factor. If you factor out the common factor, that means this thing turns into, by factoring out common factor, meaning you're factoring out, which means this is very simple. You're factoring out this and factoring out this because it's a common factor. So you factored out P, right? And then inside the parenthesis, what should it be? This P becomes what? You factored it out, so it becomes what?
You're confusing me. I don't know. Would it just be the R and the T then?
What?
Would the R and the T be inside of the parentheses since we already have
Yes,
T
of course. But inside the parenthesis, what about this P? You factored it out. So inside the parenthesis, what does this become? What does this P become?
It becomes 1.
What does
right?
this?
It becomes
Say
1.
that again. 1. Yes, of course.
1.
Right, of course. This first P becomes 1, and then
There's R and T, right? You gotta put
R
those
and
in.
T. But again, I don't have to write T because T is 1, right? You understand?
Wait, no, I don't understand that part. I mean, we're writing R down. It's just 1.
T is 1 because 1 year. It's 1 year. Isn't it right? This is the interest for only 1 year. So since T is 1, you don't have to write it.
What about R then?
Yeah, there's R.
R is
It's like
107.
r times t, r times 1, right?
Oh yeah, same thing.
So then, yeah, now you got that, right? So then, think about it. Then, if you distribute it back again, right? Then it becomes, of course, p plus p times r again. Isn't that right? It becomes p plus p times r again, right? That's what the factoring is, right? So I guess that, which is, you get back to this, right? All right. So this is like people, have a hard time grasping what factoring is.
I remember what it was. I mean, I remember taking that in a math class in my algebra, but I
Yeah.
didn't really like it.
Yeah, at least you remember, at least. And who is this?
Daxton.
Daxton. Okay, Daxton, I'll give you 0.5 for this. This is section 1400, right? Today is 1026. So Daxton, 0.5 for answering it correctly. Alrighty. So, but let me just bring you to a more general example. I mean, suppose you say, I mean, even in it doesn't have to be math, but for example, you say, I go to CUNY. This pen is really killing me. And my sister goes to CUNY. And my friend Jason goes to CUNY. Okay. In colloquial language, in other words, in spoken language, you can say like this. I mean, this is perfectly, nobody, arrests you, right? Nobody will arrest you for speaking like this. I go to CUNY, and my sister goes to CUNY, and my friend Jason goes to CUNY. But in a written language, this is totally, this is zero. This gets zero. Why? Can anybody tell what's wrong with this sentence? Can anybody tell me what's wrong with this sentence?
It's basically it's like an ongoing sentence. It doesn't make sense.
Well, yes, it makes sense. I mean, there's no problem as far as the making sense is concerned. It makes sense. I mean, everybody understands what this means, but you mean it's like a run-on sentence? Yes, it's a run-on sentence, run-on first. So why is it a run-on sentence? Because too many things, there's too much redundancy. Isn't it right? There's too much redundancy.
Yeah.
Why? First of all, go to CUNY, goes to CUNY, goes to CUNY. I mean, it doesn't need to be repeated like this. Isn't it right? The same word or same phrase being repeated, that is a taboo. It's a no-no in written language, right? You'll get zero if you write it like this. So what do? Then Think about it. This is a common factor. Go to CUNY is the common factor. Isn't it right? It's a common factor. So then what do? You can factor out the common factor. So you can rewrite it like this. By factoring out the common factor, then of course you don't have to put it in the parenthesis, but what needs to be put in the parenthesis is I and my sister and my friend Jason go to CUNY. I mean, you can make it more. You can make it more compact and condensed, right? This is more condensed, isn't that right? And still, this is not complete. Of course, you don't. I'm just putting the parenthesis here so that you can, get the idea of factoring out the common factor, right? This is the common factor, but in reality, you don't put parenthesis here. But here, it's still not complete. Why? First of all, repeated use of and. You don't you don't keep saying, and. So in this case, what you need to do is simply drop that and use comma. Okay, the comma is called Oxford comma. Oxford comma means and, right? But you don't want to repeat and, so you use and only at the end, right? You use and once only at the end. Of course, it should be spelled and, A-N-D. This ampersand, I just use it for convenience because, spelling out A-N-D is still, taking a lot of time. And still, this is not yet done. Why? The location of I. You don't put I in the first place, right? When the nouns or pronouns are, there are the sentence has, multiple subjects like, you, he, she, they, I. Then what do? You put I the last. A good form, right? A good sentence. A good form is always putting I in the last place. So it's like my sister, then you say my sister, comma, my friend Jason, and I go to CUNY. Okay? This is a 10-point sentence. Okay? Why? Because it's condensed, it's neat, no redundancy. First of all, no redundancy. Okay? There's no redundancy. Compared to this one, it got much more organized. There's an order in this, neat order and organization in this sentence, and it's condensed. It's neat and condensed. Okay? There's no, of course, as I said, in reality, you don't right? You don't use parentheses, but the same concept. What I'm trying to show you is it's the same concept, right? When there is redundancy, right? You don't leave it like that. You factor out the common factor. So think about it. This is basically, eliminating the redundancy, right? Factoring out the common factor, it's the elimination of redundancy. Also, these days, a lot of young people are not familiar with. Let me just erase it because I need this. Oh God, I erased even. A lot of young people are completely unfamiliar with compound sentence. And what's a compound sentence? Compound sentence is something like this. Of course, it's not always, unnecessary, and especially in colloquial language, you don't use compound sentence. Compound sentence is basically, something like this. A is B, right? That means, you might rate it as A equals B. But, if A equals B, that's, in other words, A is B. A is equal to B, so A is B. Which is equal to C, right? Which is then equal to the. Thus, then A equals D, right? Well, this is what they call in logic a syllogism. Syllogism is what? It's exactly like something like this. If A is B, but if which is equal to C, B is C, right? And C is D, right? Then, in conclusion, A is D then. Isn't it right? But in spoken language, people generally don't say like this, right? People generally don't say like this. Rather, they say, well, A is B, and then somehow B is C. So by association, I mean, even if you use the phrase like by association, then A is D, there is logical link there. But generally, in a spoken language, I can't even mimic it. I try to mimic it, but I'm not good at that. Some people talk like some people talk even in even in routine conversation, they talk like as if they are rapping, as they are yo man, what you gonna do about that, man? And it's got its own rhythm. Huh? What did you say? Um, it used to be called doodle. But some people talk as if they are as if they rap. But then there is a the thing is people always talk in simple sentence only, not in any. There is no compound sentence. Always in simple sentence, right? And they hardly use, conjunctives, conjunctions like, whereas. But that's spoken language. That's fine. I mean, in a spoken language, but then the problem is, younger people get so only, used to simple sentences, and the sentence doesn't even end. It's always a run-on sentence, and then when they send an email, it's almost like sending a text message. And in the text message, all grammar rules are ignored. And then sometimes the email, I get some email from students, and it's completely unintelligible because they write it like, just bunching up all together just short sentences, and it's not even, the sentence is not even demarcated. I mean, when the sentence is finished, right, when you complete a sentence, then there must be a period, right? But there's no period whatsoever. And then so like 2-3 sentences are all lumped up together, and then it becomes completely unintelligible. Now the problem is, if you are just used to using short statements, not even a complete sentence, but just the short interjections, and nothing but the small broken phrases, then you will never be able to write. When you write in a written language, you will never be able to compose a well organized and neatly organized sentence. I mean, of course, when you have a couple of sentences put together, that's a paragraph. But the reason I brought this up is you understand you understand the structure of this compound sentence. A equals B, which is equal to C, which is equal to D. In other words, A is B, which is C, which is D. And then that means you should be able to connect A with D eventually, right? Eventually, you should be able to connect these two. But a lot of people are incapable of doing that. And here, back to our now, then bear that in mind. Bear what I just said in mind, and let's move on to future value 2. Of course, in this example, we know in number we know it is 11K. As I said, okay. And then let's go to future value 2. Now, future value 2 is, of course, the future value at the end of year 2. Now, to analyze future value 2, first of all, at the beginning of year 2, what do you have? What is sitting there at the beginning of year 2? Mm-hmm. What is sitting there in your account? Mm-hmm. At the beginning of year 2, what is sitting there in your account? Anyone? Nobody? At the beginning of year 2, what is sitting there? Hmm?
Wait. What did you say?
What's in the beginning of the 2? I see the FV. But that's not what you mean.
The future value?
Yeah. Just FV. I mean,
Future
FV
value.
is the future value. FV is future value at the end of year 2. But at the beginning of year 2, what is sitting there? In your account, what is sitting there?
The equal sign.
No.
Wait, what? You said after the 2?
I don't even know
What?
what you're talking
In your
about.
bank account, think about it. In your bank account, at the end of year 1, at the beginning of year 1, there was 10,000. At the end of year 1, there is 11,000. So 11K. So at the beginning of year 2, what is sitting there? Huh?
Your profit in the capital.
What?
Your profit from the last year.
Profit.
Would it be like a little over 11,000 then? Because
No. At the beginning of year 2, it is exactly 11,000 only.
I was gonna say that, but I want.
Yeah. But not the number. What is it? What is 11,000?
Oh,
There's a name for 11,000. What's the name for 11,000?
$1,000.
No. That's not the name.
Are we talking about the P and the I value thingy?
Yeah. That's true.
Oh,
But again,
I think the 11,000 will be like the price.
No. What price? I mean, we're talking about putting money in the bank.
Interest or
right?
something?
You're not selling anything, so there's no price, there's no profit. You're not selling anything. You're just putting your money in the bank. 1 year later, there is 11K. What's the name of that 11K? What do you call that 11K? Huh?
I was gonna say compound interest because it keeps growing. Just leaving it there.
No, that would be your
No.
That would be your
11K. 11K is the result. 11K is the result of the principal and interest, right? But what is the name of that 11K?
I don't know.
What should we call that 11K?
That would
The savings?
be your profit,
Huh?
like what you earned.
No, once again, there's no. It's not profit because there's no profit. There's no profit because you're not selling anything.
Your savings? I don't know.
Yeah. It's your savings, but savings. Put a time subscript on it. Can't you put a time subscript on it? Because when you say your savings, it's just it can be at any point. So 11K is.
I don't know, your yearly savings. That's time.
Liability? I don't know.
Why is liability? I mean, do you owe that money to anyone?
Mister, we need you to explain this a little bit because what are we supposed to say for the 11,000? Okay, it's our savings, but what do you mean by time?
Yeah.
I said time subscript. I said time subscript. I mean, someone said saving.
The savings at the end of
but
year 2.
a saving is, look, yes, it's saving, but saving as of when?
At the end of year 1 and the beginning of year 2.
Yes, that's right. But what is the name? We have already gave a name to that.
The fiscal year.
Huh? Come on. I talked about compound sentence a while ago. I talked about compound sentence. A is B, which is equal to C, which is equal to D.
You're gonna have to give me some more to work with here.
What?
You're gonna have to give me some more clues to work with here, because I don't really know where you're going.
The clues are right in your face. It's right in your eyes.
Is that the savings after 10 years?
No. I said, how can 11K be savings after 10 years? It is just the savings at the end of year 1. Right? But then, what is the name for that? 11K is sitting there, but what is 11K? 11K is sitting there at the beginning of year 2, but what's the name? What's the name for 11K? I mean, what is it? How do we define that? We already defined 11K as what?
As a saving.
Yes, that's right. But it's the saving at what point?
Wouldn't
It's
be
the
that wouldn't that
total
be like
value
the
of your saving
capital
at
of
what
some
point? Hmm?
wouldn't that
It's
be
the
like your
total value
Total
capital?
of your
value of
savings.
savings at the end of year one.
Yes, yes, right. But then, uh, what is that? What is that called? Total value of your savings at the end of year one, and we already gave it a symbol for that. Isn't that right? We already gave a symbol for that.
I don't know.
Isn't it? Look, isn't it FV1?
Future value.
11K, isn't 11K
But she said
FV1?
she said that. She said that, and
Who said that?
Yeah, I did.
Stacy said that, and you said it was wrong.
Who? Stacy?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
but
said that a long time
so
ago.
you gotta. No,
She
I heard
did. She did,
FV, not I
Professor.
heard FV, but not FV1.
She said future. She
I
said
heard
future
only
value in the
FV.
end of year one.
Yes, but that's not. I don't. I'm not. I don't want verbal. I don't want anything verbal. Just give me either
FE1.
the FV1. Yes, that's simple as that. Isn't that right? And Stacy, if you said FV1, uh, I you should have said it very clearly because what I heard was just FV,
I said
right?
FV1. I don't know if my connection got lost or something, but I said that.
Okay, okay, good. Yeah, FV1. That's what it is. So Stacy, uh, you must. So you need to enunciate, right? Uh, or because a lot of people were talking at the same time, then the the ending of your voice could have been lost. And the chaos of everybody speaking at the same time. So Stacy, you got 0.25. Look, yes, that's 11K. We already gave a name for that, and that's why I talked about compound sentence, right? That's why I talked about compound sentence. Um, we say, if A is B, which is C, which is D, then A is D, right? And this is exactly the compound sentence, structure of compound sentence. Look, FV1 is P plus I, which is equal to P plus P times R times 1, right? Which is equal to P times 1 plus R, which is equal to 11K. So that means, FV1 is 11K, right? People who are just, used to just, simple sentence can only see only like this connection between only, A and B and C and, C and D. But, you cannot connect all those dots. People who are just simply, used to simple sentences cannot connect all those dots. But you have to have that broad sight, broad vision that can connect the dots. Now, so at the beginning of so FV2 is then the future value at the end of year 2, right? And then but at the beginning of year 2, FV1 is sitting there, right? In other words, 11K is already sitting there at the beginning of year 2, and you will earn interest of 10% for 1 year. So the interest amount, then which is equal to then FV1 plus FV1 times R, right? Again, T is unnecessary because it is 1, right? You can put 1 there, but times 1, it's useless. I mean, it's pointless. Then think about it. FV1 is again repeated. So what do? You factor out the common factor. FV1. You factor out FV1, and then turns into times 1 plus R. Okay. Now here's one more thing. What is FV1? We know. We have already defined FV1. So what is FV1? Anyone?
The 11,000 that we have.
Yeah. That's in dollars. That's in dollar value. But by definition, what is FV1? By mathematical definition. When I say definition, it's always mathematical definition, no verbal definition, right? What is the mathematical definition of FV1?
The value.
No. I said no verbal definition. No verbal definition. I said mathematical definition. Right? What's the mathematical definition of FV1? And it's also right in your face. Huh?
Would it be 1 plus R?
No. Oh, just 1 plus R?
P,
you cannot.
FB1
P plus I.
And hold on.
Say that again. Who went first?
Let her go. Let her get that.
I said FB1 and then the parentheses 1 plus R. Which you just
No. You're defining FV1 and you're defining FV1, but you define it with FV1.
Would it be what's above FB1 equals P plus I?
Future
Okay. Say that again. Say that again. Who was that? Who said that? Say it again.
I was about to say something, but Stacy, go ahead. I think he's asking what you said.
FV1 equals P plus I, right?
P plus I? Yeah, that's right. But P plus I is eventually it was rewritten as what? P plus I is rewritten. Eventually we broke down P plus I and we arrived at what?
P plus P times R times T.
P plus R?
Oh, no. P plus P times R times T.
Yeah. But why do you keep? That's only like it's only stages to arrive at the conclusion. So what was the conclusion
P1
for
plus
FV1?
R.
What was the conclusion?
It's P parentheses 1 plus R.
Yes, you are right. Who was that?
That was me.
Who is me?
That was Peter.
Oh, you can't see.
Okay,
sorry.
Peter, I'll give you 0.25 for that. Yes. Look, we arrived already at the conclusion, previously. I mean, this is the, you see, this is the definition of FV1, isn't it right? Look, FV1 is this, which is this, which is this. That's the mathematical definition of FV1, isn't that right? P times. I mean, although we don't have to write times, right? We don't have to, but when there is no operator, that means it's times. So P times parenthesis 1 plus R, close the parenthesis, right? That's FV1. That's the definition of FV1, right? So then this means we can rewrite this. You can simply, that means you can simply replace, FV1 by its own definition as P times 1 plus r times 1 plus r, right? Because this is the definition of FV1. But then, do we leave it like this?
No.
Is it okay to leave it like this?
To put the 1 plus r to the second power.
Yes, you're right. Who said that?
Stacy.
Stacy, so you got another 0.25. Yes, because you don't, this is like, redundancy, right? It's 1 plus r times 1 plus r, so of course you will need to do p times 1 plus r squared. Okay, you'll have to write it like this. And then think about it. So if we then if we go to FV3, right, future value, if we go to FV3, right, so we go through the same process. Think about it. At the beginning of year 3, what is sitting there? At the beginning of year 3, what is sitting there in your account?
FV.
Again, just FV?
FV2.
FV2, yes. Who said that?
Eva.
Eva, okay, Eva, I'll give you 0.25. Yes. At the beginning of year 3, FV2 is sitting there in your account, and it's going to earn interest again for 1 year. And then if we break down interest, then it's FV2 plus, I mean, this is not interest, right? In other words, only FV2 is the principal at the beginning of year 3. FV2 times R, that is the interest, isn't that right? This FV2 is just the principal. FV2 is principal in year 3, and then interest is FV2 times R.
But do
right?
we simplify it like the FP2? Do we
Yeah,
simplify it?
yes, we simplified by factoring out. We simplified by factoring out FV2. Then if we simplify, factor out FV2, and I'll have to drag it. And then it's going to be FV2 times 1 plus R, right? But then what is FV2? Haven't we defined what is FV2? Haven't we defined it?
P.
We have defined it already.
Yeah.
FV2 was defined
P
previously.
times 1 to the P
Yeah.
times 1 plus
Mhm.
R to the second power.
Yes, you're right. And who was this?
Stacy.
Stacy? Yes, Stacy, I'm giving you another 0.25 for that. Yes, FV2 was defined as P times 1 plus R squared. And then, because we have 1 plus R here again, in other words, we replaced FV2 by its own definition, right? And then, again, this is not the best form. This is not the best form. So what do we do?
We
So what do we
simplify
do?
it again, so it will be 1 plus R to the third power. So it's
Yeah,
P,
P times, right? P times 1 plus R raised to the third power. Yes, you're right. And then, therefore, if we keep going, I mean, it's the same process. We can do, a lot, for example, but, I'll just use, ellipsis, dot, dot, dot. And let's say FV10. If it is FV10, future value finally in the year 10, at the end of year 10, FV10, I can go through this process again. Then it will be, we know it's
Professor,
FV9.
wouldn't it be easier to just know that FB10 will be P plus I?
Yeah, sure. That's the formula. That's the conclusion. But I've been trying to what I've been showing you is that this is how you arrive at that conclusion. Simply, it doesn't just it does it it doesn't just pop out of thin air. It didn't pop out of thin air. I mean, it went through the process. In other words, this is the process through which we arrive at, right, that generalized formula. So in other words, again, I'm not going to extend this anymore, but you can tell this is the steps of derivation. So we arrive at the generalized conclusion. We arrive at the generalized conclusion. In other words, you should be able to logically, right, any future value can be found simply by, right, principal times 1 plus r raised to n. Now, again, so if you want to find, FV10, future value 10, then all you need to do is here, when n is 10, right? So let me. And principal is 10K times 1.1, right? Because it's 10% raised to 10. And then using the calculator, right? You can easily, I already did that. But look, the reason for showing all these steps of derivation, although the conclusion is obvious, the conclusion is that compounding is, the formula for compounding is P times 1 plus R raised to n. So, but you can easily memorize it, but after the semester is over, you may be able to remember still the compounding in single cash flow model, but the formulas for annuities, formulas for, multiple cash flow models, you may not. Okay? But if you understand the steps of derivation, you don't have to memorize anything. But let me finish up. Let me just finish this up. So 10,000 times 1.1, right, raised to, and this, from the symbol, it's quite obvious. It's x raised to y, right? Not 1.11. Oops, it's 10,000 times 1.1 and raised to 10, and you get 25,937.43. Okay, so you can, given the as long as you are given principal, as long as you're given the interest rate, as long as you're given the time, you can easily do that. But here's the thing. You have seen basically, the result of compounding. The compounding is so called because the interest is compounded. Interest earns interest again. But at the beginning, we talked about the difference between compound interest and simple interest, right? And in simple interest, interest doesn't get compounded. In simple interest, every year, it's still, interest is just 10% of the principal. So if we, use, and I said, compound interest rate is used in long-term money market, long-term financial market, which is called capital market, and simple interest rate is used in the money market, which is short-term financial market, right? And the line between long-term and short-term is 1 year. So any maturity, any timeline longer than 1 year is long-term, and compound interest will be applied, whereas for timeline less than 1 year, it's going to be the simple interest rate. But again, for timeline like 10 years, in reality, there's no way simple interest rate will be applied. But if suppose we used the simple interest rate, right? So if we use simple interest rate for future value 10, and I will put S there to indicate simple interest rate, then it's going to be, the way it works is times 1 plus 0.1 times 10, right? In other words, simple interest works like this. Okay. Then think about it. This is, you can do it mentally, right? Because it's going to be, this. This is going to be just 1. So the whole thing will just become 20K. And look at the difference between simple interest rate and compound interest rate. The winner is obvious, isn't it right? There's almost, this is almost 26K. This is almost 26K. So there's the difference of 6K between the future value by compounding and future value by simple interest rate. Okay. Alrighty. So that's all the time we have for today. All right. So I will see you guys on Thursday. Okay. And don't forget, the midterm announcement is posted, right? So please, remind yourself, but go to the announcements, and you can see that's what's on the top. Okay. All righty. Any more questions? Any questions so far? Any questions?
No. So we have all weekends to take our midterm, right?
No, not the whole week.
I said the weekend.
The weekend, whole weekend, yeah.
Okay.
Whole weekend. But it's just the window. You have only like 120 minutes or 180 minutes, right? So you have to in single sitting, right? So continuous 180 minutes or 120 minutes. Alrighty, so I'll see you guys on this Thursday. Okay. So
All
I'll
right,
stop
Professor. Have a
sharing.
good day.
All right, you too, Eva.
Yes.
Have a great afternoon, everyone. I'll stop recording and